In one of the countries, a king lived in your ornate palace. There were so many trees in the garden of this palace, and they gave various fruits that people could not get enough of looking. But the tree that the king cared about the most was right in the middle of the garden. He didn't have much of a show, but Acro liked his fruits the most. This tree only yields 10 or 15 fruits a year. One day it was time for the tree to bear fruit, and the gardener ran excitedly to the king.
"Give your tree 12 fruits this year, my dear king."
The king was very, very happy. But the gardener, who came to the king the next day, told the king, "Sir, last night one of the fruits was stolen." The king was very angry.
"Find that thief immediately and bring him to me."
Gardener commissioned his eldest son for the job, but the young man slept around midnight, and that night another fruit was stolen. The king was very angry, and he had the gardener's eldest son arrested. Then the second son of the gardener stood guard at night to wait for the tree. But when he fell asleep, another fruit was stolen that night. The king had the gardener's second son arrested. Finally, the king's son stood guard to protect the tree. At that moment, a small bird came and stole the fruit of the tree. The young man swung an arrow from behind the bird, but the arrow passed by him without touching the bird. At this time, the tail of the bird was plucked from its feathers. In the morning, they took the feather and went before the king.
We've finally figured out what the thief is, but now how do we catch him?"
The gardener, who was saddened that his sons were in prison, "Sir, please give my eldest son another chance. Let him go and catch that bird and bring it back." When the king saw that the gardener was upset, he said that he should go well. Gardener first his son had no idea where or how to find the bird, but he set out and began to investigate it. Finally, while walking in a dark forest, he came across a squirrel.
"You're the guy looking for that golden bird, right?"
The young man excitedly, Yes, do you know where he is?" he asked. "Look," said the squirrel, "follow this path straight. Climb a huge mountain and hide in front of the first cave. A giant will come there. When this giant eats his dinner, he immediately goes to sleep. If his eyes are open, he is in deep sleep. But if it's closed, it hasn't slept yet. When you are sure that the giant is sleeping, go in and take it with its little cage and get out." The son of the gardener walked a lot and then came across a mountain. He climbed on it too. But when he came to the front of the cave, he was exhausted and started to sleep on the spot. Finally, the giant has arrived. When he saw the young man sleeping in front of the door, he took it in the palm of his hand. Just as he was about to throw it in his mouth, he thought that this bite was too small and thought of making him a cage and squinting him a little. People have not eaten for a long time. Since such a good meal had come, he should have eaten it with the taste of his mouth. The squirrel, who was watching from afar, was very angry at the stupidity of the young man, but there was nothing to do. A few days later, the second son of the gardener was sent after his brother. The squirrel said the same thing to him. The young man walked quite long and climbed the mountain. He hid in a corner and waited for the giant. But what a giant he sounds! As the giant took a step, the ground rumbled, and when the boy raised his head, he couldn't even see the giant's head. The noise and the giant's majesty frightened him so much that he completely forgot what the squirrel had said. The squirrel told him that he would enter the cave when the giant's eyes were open, but he tried to enter when the giant was blindfolded. He was also upset about the gardener's condition. He also wanted to catch the golden bird and take it to his father. In the forest, He also came across a squirrel. The squirrel told him that he had told the other youths. As for the prince to the foot of the mountain, tired of walking too much, I'm so tired tonight I'm going to sleep here and climb the mountain tomorrow morning. Otherwise, I can't deal with the giant above. The young man, who had spent the night in the forest, climbed the mountain the next day. But what's that? The front of the cave is so full. The giant collected the bones of the animals he ate in a corner and threw them around. And the bones were so large that who knows what animals he hunted. The young man lay down and rested some more. Finally, he was awakened by the sound of the giant's steps. Finally, the giant has arrived. There was an elephant on his shoulder. He cooked and ate the giant elephant. Then he lay down to sleep. A short time later, the giant's eyes opened and the giant began to snore. The prince, who had quietly entered, had taken the sons of the gardener, who were in a cage in a corner, the golden bird that was in his cage on the other side, and just as he was about to come out of the cave, he heard a girl's voice. He looked around to see where this sound was coming from. At the bottom of the cave were 3 girls in a cage. They immediately rescued them and fled from the cave. When he came down the mountain, the prince asked the girls who you were. The most beautiful of the girls.
My father is a king and I am a princess. These 2 are my bridesmaids.
As the youngsters were moving through the forest with their bird cages, they came across a squirrel again. Squirrel to prince, bravo dude, you finally made it. Yes, thanks to you, the squirrel said, and asked what he could do for himself and how to thank him. The squirrel told him to please take off that necklace around my neck. The prince asked, but you can do it too, why do you want it from me? I can't do no to the squirrel prince. Because this necklace magic gave me a giant. He said, well, so I'm going to take this necklace off, and he took it off the squirrel's neck. The squirrel suddenly turned into a young and handsome man. When the princess saw the man, she hugged him as my brother. Because this was the princess's brother who disappeared many years ago. The young man who was fascinated by the giant while searching for his sister, whom the giant had kidnapped years ago. Finally, the young people came to the palace. The prince gave his father a bird. He introduced the young prince and princess and said that they were the children of the king of the neighboring country. Then the 2 brothers went to their father and longed for them. But our prince's mind also remained with the princess. He told his father that he wanted to marry the princess. Since the sons of the gardener were also in love with the bridesmaids of the princess, weddings were held for 40 days and 40 nights. They were all very happy.